Hello and welcome. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell button so that whenever there's an update, you get to hear about it. Today, I'm so excited because we're talking about something that concerns you. Yes, that concerns you. So, have you ever wondered if there was a formula for you to use to excel at everything that you love, everything that you venture into? What if there was a formula? And today we're discussing that particular formula. We're discussing the formula to excel at everything. So, this video is going to be divided into some parts because there are so many components to this, and we're going to be discussing them one after the other. So, this part is going to be talking about the place of sacrifice. In excelling at everything, what is the place of sacrifice? So, the first part of this video will be talking about sacrifice and what it means, how it can help you to excel at everything, and later we'll be diving into the components of success or finding purpose. We'll be talking about the gateway to being successful at everything. But today we're going to be talking about the place of sacrifice because that's the first step. And here we go. So to dissect this topic, we'll be reading from the book of 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 1 to verse 14. And we'll be doing this quickly. Now Solomon made a treaty with Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and married Pharaoh's daughter. Then he brought her to the city of David until he had finished building his own house and the house of the Lord and the wall all around Jerusalem. Meanwhile, the people sacrificed at the high places because there was no house built for the name of the Lord until those days. And Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of his father Abraham, except he sacrificed and burnt incense at the high places. Now the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice. He went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for there was the great high place. Solomon offered 1,000 burnt offerings on the altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask, what shall I give you?" And Solomon said, "You have shown great mercy to your servant David, my father, because he walked before you in truth, in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with you. You have continued this great kindness for him, and you have given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. Now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king instead of his father, of my father David. But I am a little child. I do not know how to go out and come in. And your servant is in the midst of your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to number or counted, to be numbered or counted. Therefore, give your servant an understanding heart. Give your servant an understanding hand to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil. And who is able to judge this great people of yours?" The speech pleased the Lord, that Solomon had asked this thing. Then God said to him, "Because you have asked this thing, and have not asked long life for yourself, nor have you asked riches for yourself, nor have you asked life of your enemies, but have asked understanding to discern justice. Behold, I have done according to your words. I have done according to your words. See, I have given you a wise and understanding heart, so that there has not been anyone like you before you, nor shall anyone like you arise after you. And I have also given you what you have not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be anyone like you among the kings of all days. So if you walk in my ways, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your days. So we hear in this passage, we are talking about the place of sacrifice. Now, Solomon was new to the throne, and he was looking for a way. He was given an assignment, like all of us today. He was given an assignment, and he was looking for how to accomplish this assignment. He was worried about what to do, how to go about this assignment that he was given. Then he went to Gibeon to sacrifice. So after I read this passage, I was thinking, okay, these prayers opened up all that Solomon had. So what were the steps Solomon took for him to be able to get there? First of all, we see that he got married to Pharaoh's daughter. That is him securing security for him to be able to build his house and build a temple. So he was not attacked by Pharaoh at that moment because he was married to Pharaoh's daughter. So that was a treaty. He cut a deal for himself. Then after that, he still was not satisfied. He went up to the mountain at Gibeon. If you read 2 Chronicles chapter 1, you will see that was the mount, the tabernacle at that place was built by Moses. Okay, the place of respecting the efforts and the efforts of our fathers comes in play here. But that is not what we are looking at. We'll go into that later on. So now Solomon went to Gibeon and he made a sacrifice of 1,000 burnt offerings. So after this, I was curious about sacrifice. What does sacrifice mean? So I went and I researched the origins of sacrifice. The word sacrifice, it's a Latin word which comes from two things. Okay, it's derived from two things. It's derived from the word saka and the word fasa. Saka and fasa. So saka means something that is set apart, something that is holy, something that is set apart from profanity, from secularity, something that is revered, something that is it's not like the ordinary. That is saka. And fasa means to make. So making something holy, that is sacrifice. That is to make something holy. So digging down into the meaning of sacrifice, I also checked to see what sacrifice is. Sacrifice is a religious rite in which an object is offered to a divinity in order to establish, maintain, or restore a right relationship of a human being to a sacred order. So when we talk about sacrifice today, we most times we say you have to sacrifice your time to get this. Yes, that is how we have coined sacrifice today, and we see that sacrifice is most times something that you have to give up for a greater gain. So the definition here is talking about human beings returning or restoring or establishing a sacred order. Okay, so we're talking about a ritual that is done for you to attain greater heights. Sacrifice is a ritual that is done to attain greater heights. The fact that you went to school is a sacrifice. It's a ritual that you had to do in order to, the expectation was that you get a greater or a better advantage in life. Attending school is a sacrifice. Burning the midnight oil in order to pass your exam is a sacrifice. You want to achieve this sacred order. You want to achieve this higher position. So you give up something. Instead of going to the club to party, you burn the midnight oil to study so that you can gain something. You can become something higher than what you are right now. So in order for you to get to the place where you need to get to make a sacrifice, it means you are not satisfied with what you are right now. That was what was happening to Solomon. He had built his house, he had built an altar for the Lord, but he was still not satisfied with what he was, because he knew the responsibility on his neck, he knew the responsibility on his shoulder, and he didn't know how to carry on with this responsibility. So he made a sacrifice of 1,000 burnt offerings. So I also went to research on burnt offering. Presenting a burnt offering, according to the Jewish tradition, is a very specific ritual. It is rigorous. Okay, there are a lot of things that you have to do for you to present a burnt offering. The fire has to be kept burning. So for him to present, it didn't say whether it was cattle, whether it was lamb, whether it was a ram, but if you were to read about the burnt offering, you understand that it is always a long process. So sometimes I wonder how long it took him to present 1,000 burnt offerings to the Lord. So that shows you once you have a yearning in your heart, and you understand your purpose, which if you want to understand, if you're finding it difficult to understand your purpose, there's another video, you can check it out, about understanding your purpose. Okay, but today we are talking about how to get there. Okay, how you've understood your purpose, you're getting there. So now, you've understood your purpose, but how do you get there? Solomon made a sacrifice of 1,000 burnt offerings. That would have taken him an awful lot of time, but he knew what he wanted and he was ready to give it out. He was ready, even though he was the king. Yes, let's say he had the cattle, but the time it would have even taken for him to give 100 burnt offering was something I just cannot imagine. So let's say it was a lot. It was a lot of time. It was a lot of effort in doing the sacrifices. So there are 6. I also researched on what makes a sacrifice a sacrifice. There are 6 components to a sacrifice. There is the sacrificer, that's the person making the sacrifice. There is the object of sacrifice, that's what is being offered. There is a time and a place of the sacrifice. There is a method of sacrifice. There is a motive and intention of sacrifice. And then there is a recipient of the sacrifice. So let's take it one after the other and see how Solomon did it. Okay, so now who is the sacrificer? The king of Israel, Solomon, just after his father, the new king of Israel. You can imagine the kind of authority he was wielding at that time. The greatest man at that time had just died and he had handed the kingdom to him. So this is the king. You are the king. You have been handed an assignment. Okay, you've been handed an assignment, and it is time for you to understand that assignment. Solomon was handed an assignment. He knew his assignment, but he did not know how to go about it. So that was why he went to Gibeon to sacrifice. It is said there that he went to sacrifice. His intention was to sacrifice. So what is that your assignment? Once you have figured it out, once you have figured your assignment, once you have figured why you are here, what do you have to do? As the king of that assignment, as the king of the assignment. And if you notice, Solomon did not say he was ordained to rule over the people. He said he wanted knowledge, he wanted wisdom to be able to judge and discern wisely. We've talked about the sacrificer, and we've seen that Solomon was the sacrificer. He was a king. He had an assignment. His assignment was to rule, to judge his people, and he wanted to judge them fairly, and he was concerned about this, and he went into this mode of sacrifice. So you are the king of your assignment. You rule over your assignment, and if you have the desire to do well, if you have the desire to accomplish this assignment the way it is supposed to be, to accomplish it well, exceedingly well, then some sacrifices have to be made. And we see that Solomon made those sacrifices. That takes us to the issue of the object of sacrifice. Now, the object of sacrifice in the passage we read is the 1,000 burnt offerings. Okay, the 1,000 burnt offering, that was the object of sacrifice. So when you have decided that this is what you are going to do, okay, you are aware of your assignment, and you know the steps, you know what you have to do. The next step is to understand what you have to bring to the table. We talked about the burnt offering being a very rigorous process. It would have taken a long time, a huge amount of time for him to accomplish bringing 1,000 burnt offerings. And imagine the cost of that. When you have found your assignment, we talked about you sacrificing your time. There is a huge amount of time that has to be spent on you, learning, on you, giving up those things that you would have done to gain pleasure, so that you can be able to gain something higher, the sacred order we talked about. So it's an enormous amount of whatever you are given. Solomon brought 1,000. How many hours are you dedicating to your dream? How many hours are you dedicating to your calling? How many hours do you spend developing yourself, instead of doing those things, instead of watching mindless TV, instead of going on Instagram, instead of just flipping through Facebook? How many hours do you spend on developing yourself, on doing those things that will make you a better person? That is the sacrifice. That's the object of sacrifice. For some, it might be hours. For some, it's physical exercise. You want a type of body shape, and you have to hit the gym and make and do the reps, as they say. You have to hit the gym, do the reps, okay? And how many of that are you giving? What do you want to achieve? If you meet a coach in a gym, he will tell you, for you to achieve this body shape, there's this amount of exercise you have to do. So that is the sacrifice. Your time, your effort, those are the sacrifice. Solomon brought 1,000. What are you bringing to the table? So the next step brings us to the time and the place. Now, if you read from 2 Chronicles chapter 3, you will see that there was a need, there was a season, there was a need at that particular time. You see that there was a need surrounding. Do you know that a lot of people were expectant? It was a particular time in Solomon's life when people were expecting him to deliver. So that was the time that he was surrounded by. And the place, Gibeon, where he went, there's a lot to be learned about the Gibeon. First, when the Israelites were moving from Egypt into Israel, they were commanded not to shed blood in Gibeon. They were commanded not to kill in Gibeon. And the people of Gibeon made peace with the Israelites. And King Saul before David, out of his zealousness, started killing some of the Gibeonites. And if you read through the Bible, you will see that there was a famine. As a result of what Saul had done, they were not supposed to shed blood in that place. It was a sacred place. Even the inhabitants of the place were spared. Those who lived in Gibeon were spared, but Saul in his zealousness went and the story of Saul is so full of disobedience. But Saul in his zealousness went and he killed some of these Gibeonites, and there was famine. And then the people of Israel had to seek God's consent about why there was famine, and it was pointed to the fact that Saul had done that, and the Gibeonites made their request, and that they had to be appeased for the famine to be taken away. So the place of sacrifice also matters. The place of sacrifice, the mountain where the sacrifice was made, also was a sacred ground. It was built by Moses. We talked about the place of the efforts of the fathers. So, how does this relate to you now and your purpose? You have to do the research. You have to understand where you are and how you got to where you are. Okay? When you have found your purpose, you have to understand you are not the first. There have been people before you, and you have to do the research and understand what they've done, how they've done it, and what was sacred to them, and then you follow in those footsteps. The steps that they took, you also follow in those footsteps. So he choosing Gibeon was not his mistake. He was following the footsteps of his forefathers, and he made a sacrifice in Gibeon. So that is the place. Now we talk about the method of sacrifice. It was the burnt offering. What is the method of the sacrifice you're bringing? When you are sacrificing your time, you're sacrificing your money, you're sacrificing your efforts, what is the method in which you're sacrificing also matters. If you have dedicated time to develop yourself, and in that time, instead of developing yourself, you're doing other things, that is not following the method. So the method matters. The method matters. And then the motive, one of the most important thing. When Solomon went to Gibeon, he went to sacrifice. There was a longing in the hearts of people. It was the time. It was the timing. The timing forced him. Okay, it gingered something in his spirit. It caused something to move in his spirit, and he was like, there is need for wisdom in this case. I cannot do it alone. I cannot do it on my own. If you listen to his prayer later on, he talks about how he's just a child. So your intention matters. Why are you making the sacrifice? You might have the best sacrifice. You might sacrifice a lot of hours. You might have the best place. You might have checked the timing, and the timing is right, and you're in the right state as the sacrificer. But if your intention is wrong, there is no fruit that will come out of that. Your intention also matters. So it was his intention. He wanted to be he wanted to be of impact to his people. He wanted to serve. If you listen to his prayer, we're going to be reading later on in the latter parts, we're going to be reading his prayers. That was a prayer of service. And that is the key. Serving is the best intention you can have is towards service. If your intention is to serve, if your intention is to create impact, to change life, for transformation, the door will be open to you. The door will be open to you like it was open to Solomon. And the last one is the recipient of the sacrifice. Now we talk about God. God was the recipient of the sacrifice. And when we read on, we're going to see how God came through. God was like, what? 1,000 burnt offering. Chose the right place, chose the right time, chose the right method. He has the right intention. What do you want? God asked him, ask, what is it you want? What is it you want? So it gets to that time when you've made the right sacrifice, when when you've brought the right item on the altar at the right time, in the right place, with the right intention, that God asks you, what do you want? Ask whatever you want and I shall do it to you. What is it? Why so much? Why have you given so much hours? Why have you given so much effort? Why have you given so much money? What is it you want? What is it you want? So we will be getting that into that next week. But with this, I hope this blesses you and takes you from where you are to where you want to be. I hope that your life is changed by this and you have a step-by-step plan on what to do and how to go about it to make your life better, to move from where you are to where you want to be. So I hope this blesses you. If you enjoy this and you think there are people who needs to hear this, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, join the community. We're increasing. Yeah, and leave comments also. Your comments are very important. I'll try and I will answer your comments once I see them. If there are questions, put them in the comment sections. Let's discuss. Let's get talking. Love you all. See you on the next episode. Ciao.